Alright, so let's start talking about how to propagate a plant, and let's start with the very easiest plant to propagate, which is any kind of green vining plant. Pothos, philodendron, monstera, anything like that. This is a silver satin pothos. Beautiful. I love the silver sort of veining on here. And I keep this plant hanging, and I realized this morning that this thing had gotten, it's like 5 feet long at least. And so we're going to give her a little haircut, and I'm going to show you how to propagate those cuttings when you take them. So if you have a vining plant, you're going to want to examine the stem. And you'll see along the stem, there are what are called nodes. Nodes are these bumps. This is where leaves grow out of. And you'll also often notice little teeny tiny aerial root bumps, those little brown bumps. All of these bumps on the stem are the only place that you can grow roots. So if you are going to try and root a cutting of a plant, it has to have a node. Your cutting has to have one of those bumps on it, or else roots will not grow. They will not, they never will. It will just rot in water, or it will sit there like a beautiful bouquet, but it will not root. So if your question is, can I root a leaf of a pothos or similar vining plant? Not unless it has a node on it. It will never root. All right, now that that's out of the way, here's what you're going to do. Here's what you're going to need. You're going to need a pair of very clean scissors. I run mine through the dishwasher before and after using them to cut plants. And you're going to need some sort of vessel to hold water. You can use a vase. I'll show you, I have a test tube propagator also for when I'm doing just a couple cuttings, but I like to use a jar, and you're going to want to fill that jar with water. And you're going to want to use room temperature water, nothing cold, nothing hot that will shock the plant, just a jar of water. You can use rainwater if you prefer. Something like a pothos doesn't care. They'll be fine in any kind of water. Alright, so you're going to decide where you want to cut and how much you want to cut. I'm going to cut maybe a foot or so off this plant. You can actually see right here the spot where I previously cut it. So this was all new growth, and here's the little stub from where I cut it the last time. So you're going to want to make sure that your cutting has at least one of these bumps, these nodes on it, and that node has to fall under the water when you're cutting. So some things to look for when you are going to cut a plant. You do not want to take cuttings off of unhealthy plants. You can if it's like the plant is going to die and you're just taking cuttings as a shot in the dark, but they are unlikely to be successful if the plant is already on its way out. Like a crispy brown plant, a mushy plant, a plant with a ton of yellow leaves that's kind of wrinkled up and maybe dried up, unlikely to be successful propagating. You can try, but it's best with healthy plants with new growth. You can see the end, this is about to have a baby leaf on the end, if you can see. So this is like happy, healthy new growth. This plant loves the spot where I keep it. I'm gonna take my scissors and I'm gonna cut, not on the node, but so that the node comes off with my cutting, right there in that spot. So this is the new end of the plant. It will grow new life there. I'm going to leave it there. And here's my cutting. Now this is pretty long. This is maybe like 18 inches long, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nodes on here. So I'm actually going to cut this into multiple cuttings, and I'm going to arrange it so that I can save this leaf. So typically when you are rooting a cutting in water, you want to leave 1, maybe 2 leaves on the cutting. And that's because leaves take energy from your plant to keep them alive. And while a leaf can help with the photosynthesis, can help the cutting grow, they will grow new leaves. But you want them to really focus their energy right now on growing roots. So if you have a lot of leaves on there, a lot of times they will die off very quickly. You'll think your cutting is doomed, but really it's just abandoning those leaves so it can focus its very limited energy onto root growth. So I'm actually going to cut in a few places. Let me show you. I'm going to cut, so this is where I cut off of the mama plant, and I'm going to leave 1, 2 nodes underwater, This node where the leaf is, I'm going to cut right above this node. That's my cutting. And then here I have 1, 2 nodes, and then a bunch of stem. And remember, when this cutting grows, hold on, you can see it for the cabinet. When this cutting grows roots, they're gonna come from here. They're gonna come from the node. They're not gonna come from the random stem. So this is not gonna hurt the plant, but I have found that eventually this will sort of like turn yellow and die off. So I'm gonna leave a little bit. I'm gonna leave that much, maybe ½ an inch of stem under the node, but I cut the rest off just because I don't need it. So then I'm going to take these cuttings and stick them in my vase of water, my jar. It's just a jar, nothing fancy. And I'm going to take a couple more cuttings. So we're going to come here. What if we try and just even out these 2 branches? So ideally, I would like to fill this pot out a bit more. I have a few branches up here that just aren't as long. You can see how it looks hanging. This one is just really long, and this one ends right here. So I've got about that much more I can cut off. I cut it where I did because that was sort of the leafless area. So this spot, I'm gonna have to sacrifice some leaves. But here we go, watch me. All right, we're gonna take this, we're gonna cut it here. Woo! There we go. All right, so let's count our nodes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nodes. So I can actually cut this into 4 cuttings of 2 nodes each. So let's do that. Let's get this one out of the way. We're gonna cut 1. All right, let's see. Which way am I looking? 2. 3, 4. And when you cut cuttings like this, so now, unlike the other one that had sort of a bottom and a top, both sides are cut that I just freshly cut. So either side can go in the water. You just want that freshly cut side going into the water. And I'm going to position it this way, and you're going to remove with your scissors, just cut very close to the stem, the leaf that would fall under the water, and place it in. So you are losing some beautiful leaves here, which I know I hate to do. I know a lot of people hate to do, but it will grow new leaves, and this is the way to fill out your plant without having to buy new plants. So this one, because this is a bigger leaf. All right, so there we have it. Here is our sort of cutting bouquet from this silver satin pothos. Now, this is an optional step, but, oh yeah, let me show you. These are the leaves I cut off, and they do not have nodes on them. This is just, remember, I left the node on the cutting. This is just leaves, and they will not root. You cannot propagate these. You could press them in between the pages of a book with a little wax paper, a little old-fashioned if you want like some pressed dried leaves, but otherwise they are trash. Or compost.